Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing again. Believe in a power greater than what you are going through. When you don't know what to do, keep breathing.
That's right. When you don't know what to do, just keep on breathing. From the City of Angels in Los Angeles, welcome to all my listeners out there in Radio Land. I'm Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver, at caregiverdave.com. And we're also coming to you live 24/7 on 26 global audio and video platforms: iHeart Radio, iTunes, YouTube, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Vimeo, Stitcher Radio. Oh, and too many to say. And in fact, we are proud to be voted #1 caregiver podcast of the top 50 on Player FM, and #2 on FeedSpot at a top 60, and #2 on caringvillage.com. And we have an especially exciting show planned for you today. If you know what it feels like to give in all directions, this episode is going to be great for you. Daphné Vanessa began handling her father's medical care in her early 20s. By the time she had a child, she found herself living in the sandwich generation life. Yeah, I know what that's like. Caring for both the silent generation and the Generation Alpha while still maintaining a career and social enterprise. And Daphné Vanessa and Shamil Rodriguez are co-founders of StartNoo.com, that's N-O-O, an online platform dedicated to reducing plus $1 trillion in student loan debt in that student loan debt crisis and encouraging community impact. And this sounds like a great show for anybody who has got student debt or knows anybody who has student debt. But before we get started, I want to take this moment to thank my last week's guest, Ron Kaiser, How to Age Without Fear. Great show. Just a reminder, you can watch or listen to that interview and all our interviews on our membership website, caregiverdave.com, or any of the other 26 global networks that I mentioned earlier: iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, SoundCloud, etc. Okay, enough of that. Daphné and Shamil, welcome to the Caregiver Dave Show. We're so excited to have you on.
Thank you so much for having us, and we are really excited to get into this conversation.
Well, my first question I have for you, just who is Daphné and Shamil, and why were they placed on this earth?
Oh, thank you. So we're the co-founders of Start New. We're people who really were placed on this earth, I think, to give back and to find ways for community to get closer together. And so we've done that in a variety of ways. Shamil's done that throughout the course of his life with community organizing. And I've done it throughout the course of my life with a lot of volunteering. And so together, we brought that together to create Start New, which is a platform that allows for people to volunteer in exchange for payments towards their student loans. And why student loans? We'll get into it at some point, but the student loan crisis likely affects a lot of people listening. It's a $1.7 trillion problem that is slowing down people, preventing them from making major life decisions, and really for getting on with the rest of their life. It's a huge debt burden that's second only to mortgages. And so we've been really blessed to find a solution.
And I would think that some people can learn from their mistakes, that if all these people have student loans for 200, 300,000, maybe even more, and they're working at McDonald's, maybe college isn't necessarily the right thing for that person, or the right major, or maybe a vocational school would have been better. But your partner is somewhere around. Will we hear from them as well, or no?
So he's actually serving with the military.
Okay.
So we won't hear from him today.
Well, we better not take him away from his post. He'd be guilty
right.
of AWOL, and they might shoot him, God forbid.
Right, exactly. But he is here with us in spirit, and he obviously is a huge part of this platform and what we've built today.
So I don't understand when you said volunteer in exchange for giving fruit. Explain that, because I'm having trouble following that.
Oh, sure, no problem. So right now, a lot of us, whether you actually went to school or you co-signed for somebody who went to school that you might be taking
which is the same thing.
Right, exactly. Let's say you co-signed for somebody to take on student loans so that they could study as a part of your regular caretaking responsibilities. Well, that student loan debt has likely compounded, and is increasing if you're paying minimum payments, oftentimes that don't hit the principal. And so what happens is that when you're paying student loan payments that are just interest or less than the interest payment, it actually increases over time and becomes this huge monster of a burden that is following on top of everything else that we're managing, right? And so we decided that we needed to solve this problem because it uniquely affected the millennial generation in a bigger way. It was the first time that a generation broadly was massively affected by student loan debt. And student loan debt came out in like the 1960s, I think, was when the program first became widespread. And that program became widespread in order to help people go to school. It was actually an opportunity, right? Because school wasn't available to everybody. And especially professional schools were only available or taken by the privileged few because they could afford to actually pay. So the premise of student loan debt was actually to help people. What's happened is that as it's gotten more complicated and more parties have gotten involved, it's become a little bit less beneficial to those that, were intended to be helped, right? Now we have this massive debt. And so the millennial generation was uniquely placed because of the double back-to-back financial crisis that happened. And I say back-to-back because yes, every 10 years there's a financial crisis. I hear this a lot from my father. But the truth is that in 2008, 2009, you could say, when the Wall Street financial crisis happened, the few years later, there was that Black Tuesday. And so those back-to-back dips in market meant that if you graduated during that time, you no longer had a job, you had taken out 4 years of student loan debt, but you didn't have a job that could actually pay for it. And so those are those people that you were talking about before, right? That are working at McDonald's, that are, work just doing anything.
Or they're homeless now. Who knows?
We're homeless. A lot of people, yes, became homeless.
Occupy Wall Street. Remember them?
I do remember this phenomenon. But in terms of the generation impacted, for people who graduated in that financial crisis time, you graduated, you had a job and you don't have one anymore, like what happened to me, by the way. Right. And then a few years go by, the economy bounces back, and entry-level jobs, they don't want somebody who's out of college 4 years with the wrong type of experience. They want a fresh face that just graduated from school. Right. And you don't have enough experience to get a job that you would supposedly be qualified for 4 years out of school. So trying to solve that problem was where we ended up with Start New, right? Because we had a ton of people that were in need. I actually was volunteering for a nonprofit, just going about my regular business. And they said, wow, we're so grateful that you came here. You actually showed up on time. You're actually helping us out.
You were volunteering?
I was volunteering. we didn't have jobs. So I was privileged enough to volunteer. I have to say it that way, because the truth is that not everybody could afford to do that. But I was privileged enough to make it work that I volunteered.
And what was your motive for volunteering?
I just love doing it. I've always been that way. I have to say it comes from my family.
You love volunteering, or you love doing what you were doing?
I love volunteering. I love helping populations that need help. But I think it came from my family. So my father, many years ago, dedicated his entire life to helping his country, which is Haiti. And he did this for no compensation, no recognition, nothing. He just decided to give up his professional career and go back to Haiti and make a difference. And he's made huge difference. Everything from when the earthquake happened, helping people who would have had their legs amputated, preventing that from happening, all the way to advocating continuously for people to have education rights.
Well, the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree, does it?
I'm not close, but I'm trying. Not close. But so that just, it's in my family, on both my parents' side, both my mom and my dad's side.
Well, I guess I'm not surprised that you are a caregiver and you have a caregiver story, right? Tell us your story quickly.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. So when I was in my 20s, my dad had a...
You mean you're not still in your 20s?
Oh, thank you. I wish I was in my 20s.
Wow, you got good skin, good genes.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I am not in my 20s anymore, but I do try to hang out with college students, as you can see. Hopefully, that will help me look younger. But so my dad had a gallbladder attack. I was in my 20s.
Oh,
and he like we were just regular family hangout, and in the middle of the night he like got up and I was like, what's the matter, Dad? And he like fell into my arms. We ran to the hospital, and from that moment on I just decided that I wanted to be, and I took the initiative. Nobody told me to do anything, to be involved in his health because I was concerned.
Sure.
And so it started off with me like wanting to make sure that he was okay.
Sure.
And I don't know where it came from, but I just got in the ambulance with him. We went, and luckily I was pretty organized. So I already had like a folder system for his records.
Right.
So
you probably didn't even know what a caregiver was.
I didn't.
Yeah, me neither.
I didn't actually.
I know what it is, but I am one.
Right, exactly. I had no idea. But we show up at the hospital, and I was good in sciences and was in what you would call the scientific section, if you will. Like I took the classes, but when I got to college and I had taken a few pre-med classes, I really didn't like the hospital environment. So I was out of my element being there, but I knew that like I had to do what I had to do, right? You have to basically overcome all of those fears that are seeing blood, all of the beeping of the machines, right? And the seeing everybody connected to things.
Yes, I remember it well.
Right. Yes. So I basically overcame a lot of fears through the course of that.
Oh.
Did it for many years, and then became a mom, and then had a child with health conditions. So I was sort of in the process where I was like in the hospital again, doing the whole, caregiving thing, but now having two folder systems, you know what I'm saying? So one folder system for the baby, one folder system for my dad. And so it's just continued like that.
So that's what they call the sandwich generation.
Correct. That's the sandwich generation.
And some people have a club sandwich where they're dealing with, the kids and the parents and the grandparents.
Oh yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
So how did you handle being in the sandwich generation and handling two sets of files, so to speak?
Yeah, two sets of files. It's a weird way to say it, but it helps me compartmentalize. So for me, I think part of service was actually really helpful to me. I think it was my form of self-care, still is my form of self-care, that allowed for me to, like you say, in a lot of in your ebook and your book, that self-care is really important to allowing you to do the best of your ability. And so,
wow, you've read my books. I'm impressed.
I haven't finished the ebook I did. So I just thought, okay, how am I going to be able to manage it? It's a stressful experience seeing people that you care about not being well. And for me, it was very emotional because I'm very close to my dad. So I'm literally the kid that said, I don't want to outlive my father. Like I want us to die at the same time because I feel like he's like my person. He's like my best friend. So it was very hard for me to see him not well. And same thing for a child. It's obviously not great to see anybody that you care about not well. And so to cope with that, I did a lot of service in different ways to help me manage. It was like service, playing the piano, if I could get my hands on one. Those were like my.
Yeah, anytime you want to take your mind off your own problems, just help somebody else.
Exactly.
And that works every single time. How is your father? Did I miss something? Is he still alive?
Yes, he's my father.
Oh,
is still
thank God.
He's great. Is
he doing better?
Yes, he's.
And how old is he?
74.
Oh, he's a young guy. He's got plenty of years left on him. My wife is 77. She's doing great.
Nice. I love it. I like to hear that.
Yeah, he'll be around till his 90s. Betty White just died at 99. That's especially the better the caregiver, the longer they live. So
Yeah.
No problems with that.
Awesome.
So, what are the unique challenges, other than the ones you just mentioned about the December generation? Your parents, your grandparents are no longer alive, right?
Correct. They are not.
Yeah. So I'm imagining if somebody has a caregiver, a young caregiver, has student loan debt, or maybe they had to drop out of school, or maybe they lost their job, or maybe they had to quit their job because their family comes first for many of them. And
Yes.
so this loan now is looming over their head, because maybe if they had to drop out of school, now the loan kicks in, right? Because they
Yeah.
give you some time to pay it back,
9
don't
months.
they?
9 months, right? But eventually they come knocking on the door, and they don't. While there are forbearance options, it actually isn't beneficial to the actual borrower,
Yeah.
because interest capitalizes and you end up owing more. So it's a real challenge for caregivers in the student loan crisis, right? Because
Yeah.
you left school potentially, or you've taken a rollback on your student loan payments so that you have more money, right, to do some of the caretaking stuff.
Right. And
And
I personally think that the big problem with student loans is that administrators in these universities are being paid too much. If you could see the percentage of money that goes to their salaries and their
right,
pension funds, and how little goes to actually educating, there's no excuse why the price of education should be going faster than any other sector in society. Do you agree with that?
I actually have very strong opinions about this and have spoken with administrators. We're in the process of actually speaking with policy experts about some of the systemic changes. People are focused on student loan forgiveness, and that's sort of looking at the problem. But we need to
Yeah,
start
but you're talking to the wrong people. That's like talking to the junkie at the drugstore.
Oh, no.
They're not going to give that stuff up. You've got to talk to the government, and all these politicians are promising all these things, but it never happens, does it?
It hasn't happened in a way to help us yet, and we're very hopeful. We try to be optimistic about this problem, but you're right, the source of the problem is the cost of school. Why does school cost so much? Does it need to cost that much? Is it actually being allocated towards pedagogy and education? Those are
And can they guarantee a degree? How about a money back guarantee? I like that idea.
I love that idea. And there have been advocates for that, because there are a lot of promises.
They'll do the marketing for you.
Correct. No, it's true. And it's true. Take it like any
They're
other
spending
product.
so much money, it's the least they can do.
Minimum, right? Or help people until they do find the job that they want. And statistics have been manipulated where people just try to get people employed. I don't know if you follow Above the Law, but Above the Law is a blog for lawyers. And they have this very funny ranking that now is taken very seriously. But a few years ago, they put out a ranking for law schools that actually get law students jobs. And it became the standard, right? But it started off as a joke, because law schools were to change the rate of law students employed after graduation. They would employ law students working at the school doing.
Your generation is very powerful position, is in a very powerful position, because you can vote these guys out and get people in who will change the education system, because it desperately needs changing. It's upside down. And I'm talking about way down to high school and grade school as well. Administrators make way too much money. Teaching used to be, and in many countries it still is, a noble occupation. Now
Right.
only insignificant, I don't want to put teachers down, but there are very good teachers out there, and there are very good professors out there.
Dr. Levenis, shout out to Dr. Levenis.
Yes. But
And my dad, actually.
when they don't reward excellence, then the bar comes down, and the average goes down, and it makes the good teachers look mediocre when they're not.
Right. No, for sure. I think there's a lot of opportunity, again, in addressing the source, but we haven't gotten to it yet.
So
Why?
what's your plan? You got a plan?
We do. So Start New actually works directly with universities, and our goal is to reduce the burden of student loan debt by which will allow, hopefully, students to focus on studying, focus on doing what matters, and gain relevant experience in their field. So, for example, if you're a marketing and PR student, you can now do marketing and PR for a nonprofit, gain experience while you're in school. So it's a form of experiential learning. And instead of graduating with theory and no experience, you graduate with years of experience potentially, and a clean slate, no debt. So that's our goal.
Yeah, and the whole model for education is, thanks to COVID, by the way, one of the good things about COVID is that we realize, hey, we can learn online at the computer, but they're charging us the same amount as if they were paying the whole system is broken. It just needs to be totally revamped, because people with the computer, with your phone, we can do it online. We can even work at the same time and come back and forth, take breaks. So yeah, I'm all for that. What do you think the odds are of the system changing?
Oh, in my lifetime, it's going to be when I'm in my 60s, maybe. I mean,
what can we do in the meantime then to help?
In the meantime, I think we need to work on addressing the problem for those affected, right? And so the people that do have the debt, who don't have time, we need to create a system so that we can automate debt freeness in our life and still take care of our caretaking responsibilities. We don't have.
What do you say? What do you say about the people who've already gone to college, went into debt, killed themselves paying it off, and are paid off? And now they look at you guys and they say, whoa, I had to pay my debt. I wish somebody paid mine off. I mean, you start to get that rivalry.
No one should.
To them?
And that's, I think, why Start New. So
like, they followed the rules and they're getting penalized.
Absolutely. And so that's part of why we wanted to allow for somebody to do something, right? It's called Incentivized Volunteering, because before we were a crowdfunding site. And as a crowdfunding site, people were just getting money for doing nothing. And that was essentially a form of a handout. And what a lot of our users said was that they don't want a handout. They want to actually feel like they've done the work or contributed to society. And that's when we married the concept. So we agree that, your contribution to society, your value as a human, that's why we're here, right? We're here to give back, and nobody wants a handout or should want a handout. Us giving back and doing work is contributing to society, and it should be valued.
Well, how do you get around the labor board and the labor laws that say you can't work for nothing? You have to get paid. You got to get breaks and this and that. What if there's a business who wants to do something, and let's say you volunteer to work at that business? You're not an employee, right? You're just kind of a volunteer. You're not on the books. You're not getting checks or anything like that. How does that employer reduce your debt? How does it work? What's the mechanism?
Yeah, sure. So it actually comes from a donor. And give me 1 minute to get
donor.
Yes.
Third party.
So a third party.
Like you're running in a race and you're saying, sponsor me. If I run 20 miles, donate this and that'll go to them. And so you're donating, but
correct.
Am I close? Am I getting there?
So close. So somebody generous, let's call him Richie Rich. Richie Rich decides to give $100,000 to anybody who wants to volunteer for nursing homes. Anybody.
I see.
And so anybody who wants to volunteer for nursing homes now has the opportunity to sign up for hours towards their student loan debt. So one person says, I'm going to help the nursing home with welcome and initiation.
Yeah.
The next person says, I'm going to help the nursing home streamline their pain management process, right? Another person says, I'm going to help the nursing home streamline marketing. And so each one of those people are cutting away at the $100,000, and it goes towards their student loan debt specifically. And the nonprofit is just grateful for the help, which is a legal entity that
Richie Rich can afford it. He has to give his money away somewhere.
Correct.
To get his tax breaks. So what about you? Let's say you're putting in, I don't know, how many hours a week would you consider volunteering, because you do have to work a real job and get money so you can pay your other bills, right?
Yep.
So how many hours a week would you consider and recommend that people do this?
Yeah. So we've seen with our users, people who do anywhere from a couple hours a week to people who take this on full time that are like, this is my
40
side
hours?
hustle. 20 hours is probably an
20,
average
okay.
for
Because they got to do other things.
exactly correct. It's you can't volunteer your way to eat
So
yet.
how much per hour can we anticipate our debt going down? Minimum wage or more? Or
Right now,
less?
Start New does $25 per hour.
Wow.
So each owner that is giving money, $25, you divide it, and that's how many hours they get. So for the person who gave $100,000, divide that by 25. That's how many hours of volunteering they contributed.
That's a great idea. Have you got any takers?
We have
How many Richie Riches are out there?
Oh,
Bill Gates should be all over this.
He should, let's talk
Call
to
him
the
up.
foundation.
Tell him I said he should be doing this.
I'll let him know Dave told me, and he'll just definitely give a call. No, we've really been quiet with marketing, but recently started towards the end of last year trying to put our name out there. And part of that goal was to get more people to donate, because the more people that donate, the more people student loans that are paid off. So
do you have marketing entrepreneurs on your team?
No, it's just the two of us doing.
You need to get a marketing guy on there.
Oh, thank you. We'll work on that for sure. No, it's just
Shamil. What's his background?
Shamil's background is community organizing. So he started off in politics, doing a lot of helping politicians get their name out there through what today is very normal, but back then it wasn't, social media. So he helped a lot of people that are in office today get elected through social media organizing.
So no experience in fundraising, either of you?
No, not.
Yeah, that's what's missing on your team. You need one more team member who is a fundraiser, who knows Bill Gates, who knows Hillary Clinton, who knows everybody who's got money. Politicians are loaded with money, by the way. All right, don't get me started.
Okay.
So it sounds like a good deal, actually.
Thank you.
I'm very proud of you for whose idea was this?
It was both of ours, I would say. I think it started off with coming back from financial aid office saying, what if we could have a crowdfunding site? And then Shamil said it could also pay student loans, not just tuition. And then we tried that out. The market told us they didn't like it. And our users actually told us they want to do something that allows them to contribute.
Can you imagine Joe Biden on his next press conference saying stuff like this and saying, I've got a great idea of how we can reduce student debt. No, we're not just going to forgive it, but there's a great program. All of, the rich people who have so much money, they're looking to donate, then they can do this and do that and do that. That shot in the arm would really launch it, I think. And then people would step up to the bat. Well, I can do that. I can give $1 million. I can give $500,000, and so on and so on. So you've got to get.
Dave, I think we need you on our team. Really, it sounds like you. Welcome to Start New.
Someone like me.
Yeah, exactly.
Who has money and time.
Exactly. Right. No, yeah, those are great ideas. I'm
a USC graduate, a business major, financial management emphasis. Go to the students in some of these universities like USC and just have a little table and start saying, you guys, will you help us market this? Would you? Because USC, for example, many are, Harvard and Princeton, they're all well connected to huge endowments and very wealthy alumni. And that's where you want to get. Now, unfortunately, it wouldn't hurt the colleges, I think, because they're still charging their outrageous prices. But, we're reducing the debt and it doesn't hurt the colleges at all, does it?
No, not at all.
We'll come after them later.
Right. We actually have a campus ambassador program where students can join, and in exchange for them marketing the university, they actually get paid if Start New comes on their campus.
Yeah, because all of those students have parents who are very wealthy alumni. It's true. It's true.
Well, we'll be hitting them up as well.
Yes.
USC, we're coming to you next.
USC is a good wealthy school.
Thank you.
And they have wealthy alumni. All right. So why this last question should have been asked first, but why are you so passionate about student loans?
Well, it comes as a challenge of just being in the generation. It's like Gen Z is very passionate about the environment.
Yeah.
Our millennial generation was deeply affected by student loan debt, right? It's something that if you meet a millennial, 80-something% of them, it's 45 million people. So it's a lot of people.
Yeah.
They're going to have a student loan debt story, right? So that was probably the foundation for why this issue.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Time really flies. I think we've covered everything. Is there something that you wanted to say before we wrap it up?
Yeah. So if anybody is interested in finding out more about Start New or finding out how you can help reduce your own student loan debt, we actually have a little mini masterclass online that you can access for free. You can visit startnew.com/financial freedom. That's startnew.com/financial freedom. And there you'll have a series of videos and PDFs that will help guide you towards getting your own financial independence and creating your own system.
So people can do something to start helping themselves right now.
Right now.
Don't have to wait for all this stuff that we're talking about. That's great.
Yep.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on. And just a reminder, all our live shows become recorded pod and video casts on all the platforms mentioned before, iTunes, I can't think of anyone. iTunes, YouTube, Spreaker, all of those things. And on, of course, caregiverdave.com. It's a free membership support community with lots of tools, resources, and free gifts too. Oh, and please check the like button on whatever platform you happen to be watching this or listening to this, because it helps Google reach even more with their algorithms and analytics and all that. So again, to all my listeners and to my wonderful guests, thank you so much for tuning in. And for all of you who tune in each and every week, making us the #1 caregiver podcast, we appreciate it. So until next time, may God bless you richly. We'll see you then. Bye-bye. Okay, that's a wrap. You did a great show. I hope you get a lot of excitement and support from this.
Yes, thank you so much, Dave. I really do love your ideas, and we're going to actually implement that. Thank you.
Did I give you ideas you didn't have?
Well, yeah, definitely in terms of reaching the school. So I think that would be really helpful. I never thought how we could segment schools. We just generally said we're going to reach out to schools. But
we want to reach out to the wealthy schools because their kids go there.
Right.
And those alumni are CEOs of huge corporations. They're politicians. They're judges, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Right.
They want their kids to go to the same school they went to so they could have the same opportunities, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
You know the system down. Well, we'll let you know when we're opening up our board of advisors. In case
right. Yeah, you pick my brain anytime.
Thank you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. God bless you. Bye-bye.
We are a community of caregivers that understands and supports you wherever you are in your journey. We are a place to connect with other caregivers, but more importantly, a place to get practical, actionable help. There are lots of ways for you to get support. First of all, you can download our welcome pack. This will get you started on your Thrive journey. Next, you can ask and get answers to your questions by posting them here in our private Facebook groups. You can also get live online support by attending one of our live weekly Connect webinars. You can get practical, actionable advice by listening to our weekly podcast. You can hear and read other stories about other caregivers' experiences, plus add your own in our weekly Share Your Story forum, posted every Tuesday in the Facebook group. You can access essential resources and download practical Thrive Solutions packs, all of which are geared to help you thrive as a caregiver. You can get lifetime access to all of our resources. Again, we're here to support you and help you thrive and to enjoy your life as a caregiver. And remember, this is a place to get hope, not just cope.
Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing.